Hello, I'm Dr. Patrice Berry, and here I share educational videos on a variety of topics. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about forgiveness, what it is, why it's important, and a few basic steps where you can start your journey towards forgiveness. It's really important that we talk about what forgiveness is and what it's not, so that we can all be on the same page. A researcher named Robert Enright defined forgiveness as one's willingness to abandon one's right to resentment, negative judgment, and indifferent behavior towards one who unjustly hurt us, while fostering the undeserved qualities of compassion, generosity, and even love toward him or her. Forgiveness is a choice, and that's the name of his book. Forgiveness is a Choice, and I'll link it down in the description below. I used that book and a lot of other great resources for my dissertation. A portion of it was on forgiveness, and really forgiveness had been an important part in my own personal life, and it's something that I work a lot on with clients in therapy. But before we really get into it, I also want to talk about what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. I might forgive someone and decide that it's not healthy for either of us to have a relationship, to have an active relationship. There may be certain boundaries that have to be put up within a relationship with someone where we can't go back to being extremely close. Maybe this is someone that will be an associate in the future, if that. There was a great blog post that I will link below that talks about forgiveness is not a feeling, forgiveness is not weakness. It doesn't mean pretending that everything is okay or that the situation didn't happen. It's not hiding from it or hiding from that other person. It's not condoning that what happened was okay. It doesn't excuse the wrongdoer's actions. It's not conditional. And so I don't say, oh, I'll forgive that person if they do this or that. Because if I put that condition on it, then I'm placing my own emotional freedom or my own ability to move on from the situation in someone else's hands. Forgiveness is not justice. And so I might forgive someone, but still want them to be held accountable for their actions. Forgiveness isn't about changing the other person. It's not focused on them having to do something different. That's where reconciliation, that's where you put certain limits and things to say, hey, if this person's going to be in my life, then these are the things that need to happen. Forgiveness is more about just being able to move on from those negative emotions, maybe certain behaviors or certain thoughts that I might be having based on the past offense. Forgiveness does not mean trust. And so trust is something that should be earned. And Brene BrownÄ has a phenomenal video on trust and what the different elements of trust should be. If someone is kind of struggling with, okay, I know I don't trust this person, but what is it about? What is it about this situation that's kind of causing me some difficulty trusting somebody? Forgiveness is a decision to release, a decision to let go of those thoughts, behaviors, emotions that are tied to that offense. It's a decision to embrace. And so often, especially with self-forgiveness, where someone is struggling with forgiving themselves, they would often, if someone else did the same thing, they would often forgive that person, but they're holding themselves to a completely different standard. And so giving yourself grace, being able to show mercy and grace. But once again, because I show that mercy and grace, that does not mean that I put myself in an unsafe situation or that I leave myself open for that offense from that person again. And forgiveness is a decision to grow. And that's where it's a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something for the faint at heart. To me, forgiveness is strength. It's definitely not a weakness. It shows that someone is letting go of those thoughts, of those behaviors in order to get their peace back, in order for them to be in a better space. And so why is all this important? There's a quote that talks about unforgiveness or bitterness is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Holding on to unforgiveness, holding on to bitterness and pain, it only hurts the person, it doesn't hurt the offender. It doesn't hurt the other person that's caused the offense. So if someone has done something wrong to me and every time they enter the room, I'm like, and I'm all mad because they're there, that's mostly affecting me. They may notice, they may not notice, but it's causing a lot of energy. It's creating a lot of negative space. I'm giving that person some control over my day, over where I go and where I don't go, that they really don't need to have. And so forgiveness is about freedom. It's about taking control back of your thoughts, behaviors, emotions, so that you don't have to continue to be tied to that negative event. And so one of the first steps in going on a journey towards forgiveness is identifying the hurt, identifying what happened and how it made you feel. Connecting the emotions with it is very important, because I want to be able to verbalize or know for myself, what exactly was it about this? What did this trigger in me? Is this in any way tied to anything else? Because sometimes one offense triggers a certain reaction, but it's really related to a deeper issue with somebody else. And so maybe it triggered a past offense that I thought I was kind of working towards letting that initial thing go, but the second offense is kind of triggering, is kind of snowballing and is triggering something else. And so being able to identify, wait a minute, what is going on? How am I feeling? And acknowledging those hurt emotions. The next step, which is not easy, it's the process of letting go. And that letting go, it's not a one-day letting go, it's a continual, it's a journey of every time that offense comes back up, letting it go. Because holding on to it, like I said, it hurts me, it doesn't hurt the other person. And often people partner with a therapist or talk with their spiritual leader or counselor just to be able to work through some of these processes, because it's not easy, especially if it is a major offense or if there are multiple other offenses that have built on top that are all being triggered. There are some activities that you can do to release hurt, to give a visual to what you're doing inside, like writing out, journaling what exactly happened, how you're feeling. Now, if it's a traumatic event, you may need to do that with a therapist, because it may bring up a lot of things, and doing it within a safe place of therapy may be a lot more beneficial. If it's more of like a minor offense, being able to journal about it, write it out, write it down, put it in a balloon and watch it go away, or write it and tear it up. Doing something constructive, destroying it in a constructive way, and having a healthy expression of that emotion. Because there's probably some anger, but under anger, there's normally resentment, or there's normally some deeper emotions. And so making sure to dig deep for those deeper emotions that are being triggered by this offense. Setting boundaries, healthy boundaries. And so that's where someone might also partner with a therapist to look at, hey, how can I set healthy boundaries with people? Because this offense kind of makes me want to put up a fortress around myself and never ever let anyone else inside. And so being able to set healthy boundaries where you're able to let the good in and keep the bad out, instead of just keeping everything out, or weak boundaries where you just let everything in. Having healthy boundaries and being able to find ways to give your trust to the right people can be beneficial. And making a commitment to be on this journey towards forgiveness. And so, like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It can take time, but it is true that hurting people hurt people, and they may not even know it, and it may not even be intentional. I saw a quote that said, forgiveness isn't letting the other person off the hook, it's taking the hook out of your heart and choosing to not harm anyone else with that hook. This was just a quick video on forgiveness and how you can get control back in your life, because sometimes we give other people that have hurt us or that we've been offended by, we give them a lot of power. And one special note I will make is, if you are ever offended by something that's a perception, sometimes it's a matter of talking with the person, because they might not be aware of their tone or something that they did or said. They may not be aware that it was harmful. And then there are other situations that are clearly, nope, anybody should know that that's not appropriate. And then you just kind of work out what type of relationship, if any, you're able to have with that person. But forgiveness is about you and you getting to a space where you can move forward without that weight of unforgiveness, bitterness. Often people carry shame if they need to do some self-forgiveness. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.